Hello everyone, and I welcome you all to this today's webinar on Cloudlytics.com. I'm Varun Rajani, and I'm the founder and president of BlazeClan Technologies. BlazeClan Technologies is an advanced consulting partner for AWS, and we at BlazeClan have developed this product, Cloudlytics.com, to help our customers and to basically analyze and process logs which are generated on top of AWS. Primarily, we have started with Amazon S3 and Amazon CloudFront. Just before we start, a few housekeeping details. Everybody would be on mute. All the attendees would be on mute for the duration of the webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat box that is there on your webinar panel on the right bottom corner of your screen. And we would answer all the queries at the end of the webinar. In case you have any other queries which we are not able to answer during the course of the webinar, please feel free to drop us a note or drop me a note personally at my email ID, which is there on your screen right now. And we would be happy to answer all your queries during the webinar and even beyond the webinar. So before we start the before we give details about Cloudlytics.com, I'll just like you to take you through what is Amazon S3 and what is Amazon CloudFront. Here is the brief agenda for today's webinar. We'll start, as I said, with Amazon S3 and CloudFront introduction. Then we will just compare the log analysis process that traditionally has been followed in the enterprises and at various organizations, and we'll tell you how different it is from what we are using on top of Amazon Web Services. Next, we will just introduce, talk a little bit about Cloudlytics and how we are using or how we have developed Cloudlytics and what are the tools and technologies that we are using at the back end for Cloudlytics. Once we are through, we'll probably take up a few use cases, industry-specific use cases for Cloudlytics, and then we'll go into the details of the reports that we have on Cloudlytics.com as of today. And this would be followed by a short demo, maybe for 5 to 10 minutes, time permitting, and we'll show you how Cloudlytics works and how you can start using it and what are the different reports, learning live on Cloudlytics.com. All right, so before we start, just an introduction to Amazon Simple Storage Service and Amazon S3. I'm sure most of you would be aware of Amazon S3. It's probably the oldest Amazon Web Services which came out back in 2006. Right, so the whole cloud and whole Amazon Web Services concept started out with Amazon S3. So Amazon S3 is basically an object store which stores more than 2 trillion objects, as of last count, which happened sometimes mid last year. I'm sure that number has increased, by a few percentage since then. And at its peak, Amazon Simple Storage Service or S3 serves 1.1 million requests per second. Right, and it's a global service used by a lot of different companies, a lot of different organizations, starting from startups to companies like Dropbox or companies like Pinterest and a lot of other companies. It's a very popular tool with the developers because of the ease with which they could integrate their products, their web portals, their web pages with with the S3 and with S3, as in when you store an object, you get a unique URL for each and every object to access it. So it could be basically accessed from anywhere in the world using an internet connection. So whenever you store an object and when you make a request to S3 to access that object, you basically create a log file. Again, that's an optional feature. If you select to create a log file while using S3, then each time a log entry is generated, that the average size of each log entry is 550 bytes per log entry, and then based on the number of requests that you have, your log file size would keep on increasing at the same pace. The next service which we'll talk about is the Amazon CloudFront service. I'm taking Amazon S3 and CloudFront because, as I said, Cloudlytics is basically a tool which helps you analyze both Amazon S3 and Amazon CloudFront logs. So what is Amazon CloudFront? Amazon CloudFront is a content distribution network or a content delivery network from Amazon Web Services. So what is a content distribution network, or a CDN? Basically a CDN, or what Amazon CloudFront does is, if you have certain static or dynamic web objects which you distribute using your web pages, it could be a web page as well, you could basically cache those web pages, those your content to various edge locations which are spread across the world. As of last count, there are more than 50 edge locations for Amazon CloudFront across the globe. And since the object is cached at all these edge locations which are spread across the globe, every time a user makes a request to access your content, he or she is routed to the nearest edge location, and their content is being served from the nearest edge location. This results in basically decreasing the latencies and increasing your user experience, improving your user experience. So similarly, as to S3, CloudFront also generates a lot of log files based on the requests that are made to this to the service. And for CloudFront, the average log entry size is 650 bytes, right? And CloudFront basically supports two types of content. One is the downloadable content, and the other is streaming content. Download content would mean basically software downloads that you allow, or any files that you want your end users to download on their web pages, from their web pages. And the streaming content would basically mean the media streaming content, which could be your music files, your video files, audio files, which you as a content distributor would like to distribute to your end users. So that is Amazon CloudFront in brief for you. Next, so we've talked about log processing on Amazon S3 and Amazon CloudFront, but what is the information that is actually stored in these logs? So let's just have a brief talk about what are the different fields or different items that are stored in Amazon S3 and Amazon CloudFront logs. So basically, both of these logs have certain things in common, like the object details which are stored on each of them. They'll also give you, both of the logs would give you the number of bytes which are transferred out of your particular service, whether it be S3 or CloudFront. It will have the IP address of the requester. It will have the referral link of the requester. These are the common fields. Then there are, of course, specific fields within each of these log files, like the time taken to download an object, which is there specifically for S3. You could get timings for downloads and streamings, which is again specific to CloudFront. And you also have details about play, pause, stop, the number of bytes which were transferred when each of these actions occurred. That is again very specific to Amazon CloudFront streaming logs, right? So these are a lot of these are some of the information which is stored in the Amazon S3 and CloudFront logs. Now, if you are a content distributor or a creator who is who is giving out the content to their if you could understand this information, say in terms of reports, or if you could do certain analytics on top of these details, it would definitely help you in probably improving your content, B, improving your user experience, C, in certain cases we've seen customers even improving their the content itself, right, based on the way their end users are. Also gives you certain reports about how your costs are spread, what are the edge locations for CloudFront, etc. Using which people also save a lot of money, because you could select certain pricing plans for CloudFront and make those savings. So basically, if you have data, you should be using it, and Cloudlytics is a tool which would definitely help you in process the data which is there in S3 and CloudFront, and more human friendly, more readable, to help you improve your content and your user experience. So how does Cloudlytics works? Basically, this is again certain more detail about the log files that are generated on S3 and CloudFront. For S3 and CloudFront both, the log files which are generated are optional. So by default the configure either of these services. You have to specifically go and configure uh, configure enable, generation of logs. So you need to check the enable logging field in your service. All the log files that are generated for both the services are again stored back into S3 buckets. For S3, the log files are simple text files, or the files are again text files but are in a compressed state in .gz format. And as per AWS S3 and CloudFront documentation, a log file is generated every hour. But based on our experience working on these logs for past couple of years, our experience is that it's not one file every hour. There could be multiple files which are generated every hour, and that behavior could change for each customer, and each customer has sees different number of files for their content which is distributed. Right now, from AWS perspective, there is no ready tool which is available which could actually help you to process and analyze the logs which are generated by these two services. So that's where we come in and pitch in and provide you a platform where you could do this in a very simple and a cost-effective manner. So before we move ahead, let's talk about, or let's compare how the logs were traditionally processed and how it has changed. The processing of logs has changed, with Amazon Web Services. So traditionally, if you if you have been in the IT industry, if you were supposed to process the logs, then you would have and depending on the size of or the number of logs that you have, you would be probably first of all deploying and maintaining your own hardware infrastructure. The process would be the same, that is, you extract data from different log files and then put that data into a data warehouse. If you have a few GBs of logs, given the limitations of traditional hardware infrastructure, you had to basically wait for hours before the logs were processed in real time if the log sizes were huge. In the past few years, people started using Hadoop as a way to process different logs, but again, managing and maintaining Hadoop cluster in itself is a huge overhead, right? So we've changed a few things. The process still remains the same, that you extract the data, you put it into a data warehouse, and then run analytics. But with AWS, we have changed it a little bit, in the sense we use Amazon EMR, which is again Hadoop on cloud, Hadoop as a service, which is very easy to configure, very easy to set up, and very easy to start using. So we use Amazon EMR, and we use Amazon Redshift, again, which is a managed data warehousing solution available as a pay-as-you-go service on top of AWS Cloud. So this gives you a lot of flexibility, because both EMR and Redshift are both managed services. So we save a lot of efforts, a lot of time, a lot of cost as well. We while putting while running the complete log processing, because both of them are managed services, and we just need to worry about our code, our queries, and our reports, and the infrastructure is being taken care of. So with Cloudlytics, the log processing, we do analysis of your S3 and CloudFront logs, and we give you dynamic graphs, which gives you a 360-degree round view of your Amazon and S3 logs. The best part about Cloudlytics is, again, it's a software as a service platform, wherein you do not have to do any installations, you do not have to do any setups. It's a very simple process to configure your S3 buckets from which we need to pick up logs, and it's a pay-as-you-go service. So there are no upfront commitments, there are no contracts. You just pay for what you use on a month-to-month basis, right? So this is how we do log processing with Cloudlytics, and what Cloudlytics is in gist, right? So the approach that we have taken is, you may call it a big data approach. why I'm using the term big data, it's not just to show off, but uh, but we process a huge amount of logs using Cloudlytics, right? It's an extremely scalable platform. We have more than 400 customers, each with their own set of log files which are generated every day. So we run clusters of EMR to process all the logs and then push it into Redshift. So actually, we are processing, at least a few GBs of data on an hourly basis to process the logs for our 400 plus customers today. So once the logs files are processed, as I said, it goes into Amazon Redshift, and then you could generate graphical as well as tabular reports on the screen for your for each of your distributions, which is configured using CloudFront and S3. All right, so that was about Cloudlytics. Now let's just talk about a few use cases where where our customers are actually using Cloudlytics, and we'll talk about certain industries where it is extensively used today. The first industry that we talk about is the ISVs, or the independent software vendors. Now typically an ISV is a software developer or a company which develops softwares, and then it allows their end users to download those softwares and install it on their local machines. So the examples could be, say, an antivirus company which would always give you the latest updates in terms of patches which you could download on your desktops. It could be companies which develop software, say for example AutoCADs of the world, or some simulation packages which you download on your desktop and install it and use it. So these are the typical companies which use Cloudlytics to ensure that downloads, which use CloudFront basically to ensure that the downloads that they are giving to their end customers are fast, right? Now the challenge with the ISVs is that they would like to understand which the details about their customers. So for example, they would like to know where the downloads are happening the most. What is the success or failure rate for each of the downloads. They would like to understand if there is any failed or broken link on their website, which if they could track, it could help improve their user experience. And again, of course, they would obviously want to understand what is the most popular download, what is the most popular language which is being downloaded. They would also like to identify spam attacks. Spam attacks would be some bot downloading a lot of content from their CloudFront distribution, which ends up basically in a very huge bill at the end of the month for them. So if they could identify spam attacks, they could reduce their bandwidth cost to a lot. The next industry that uses Cloudlytics extensively is the e-learning companies. E-learning companies would typically distribute their online content, which could be video, audio, or e-books over the internet. And of course, e-learning companies would like to understand what is the most popular content, what is the most viewed content on their platform, so that they could generate more content similar to it, as well as improve user experience on the content which is already being distributed. So they would like to understand again what is the end user engagement. So for example, if I have created a course which is of say 30 minutes, I would like to know when my end user is basically clicking on play, pause, stop, so that I could figure out what is the kind of user engagement, what is the kind of interest level that an end user has into my content. So I could basically track all of these by using Cloudlytics, as CloudFront would give you the details about play, pause, and stop. How many times a user paused, how many times a user stopped a particular video or audio content, how many times he seeked the video content, etc. Right? And then of course we also give a breakup of the operating system and devices. So where this would actually help is, so for example, if most of my customers are using iOS for distributing their content, then it's of course easy for them, easy for me to develop content which is specific to iOS rather than you creating a generic content which may or may not run on certain devices. So that way, again, it helps me in planning my future courses, my future content supported platforms that I would be creating my content for. One of our largest segment of customers is the media organizations. So the media organizations can be again divided into a lot of different segments, like say TV production houses, audio streaming services, video streaming services, etc. So these organizations typically have a large amount of media assets which are available online, and they are they have high millions and millions of users who consume that content every day through their platforms. For the media houses, the content does not undergo any changes during its life cycle, but the content popularity could vary for each media house. It could vary for how it is being processed and how it is being consumed. So the media houses or media organizations would basically like to understand how or what is the pattern of consumption of their content, both geography wise as well as device wise, and as well as the user engagement perspective of it as well, like play, pause, stop of the content, etc. If they have all this information, it would definitely help them to come up with relevant content which their end users are actively engaged with, which their end users are actively watching or listening to, for examples. And they could also figure out geographic clusters, and based on it, they could save a lot of cost on CloudFront as well using the CloudFront pricing classes. So we give all of that information with Cloudlytics, and a lot of media organizations are specifically using Cloudlytics for both saving cost as well as improving their end user experience. Right. So these were some of the segments that use Cloudlytics heavily. Now let's talk about some of the reports which are available on Cloudlytics. Right, and just so that you could identify with what are the reports that your business would actually be using if you use Cloudlytics. Right. So the first report is the geographical distribution report, or the region-wise statistics report. So this is one of our main reports, and the first report that probably you'll be using when you use Cloudlytics. So this report basically gives you a world map with color gradient, which would basically give you details on the most popular give you details on the regions from which your content is derived or downloaded the most. So for example, the darkest gradient will be the ones where there was maximum number of downloads or maximum number of views for your content. The lightest would be, for example, the minimum number of content or even no content. Right, so this gives you a bird's eye view of your content, how it is consumed worldwide. You could then apply multiple filters. You could get details about partial downloads, completed downloads, what are the failed number of downloads, what are the browsers that the end users are using, what are the operating systems or devices that the end users are using, etc. So all of this gives you a bird's eye view of how your content is being consumed worldwide. The next report that we have, CloudFront cost reports. So the CloudFront cost report is basically a report which would give you cost for your downloads or your streaming distributions as per the region again, and it would also give you details of the pricing based on edge locations as well. Right, so this gives you a very detailed insight in terms of how much you are spending to distribute your content in different geographies. So this could help if you figure out the geographies where even though you have a distribution but the content being streamed out is very little, you could probably switch off that geography by using a specific pricing class for your distribution and save a lot of cost on Amazon CloudFront, right? So this is the cost analysis report. The next is a set of custom reports, basically a BI tool which would allow you to drag and drop or select values from different columns, different fields in your log files, and allow you to do all kinds of permutations and combinations on each of these fields, so that you could get different insights from different different fields, and basically you would compare different you could have different use cases, usage scenarios to compare and get details about how your content is being consumed. Then we have a report called as Detailed IP Monitoring, which is very much unique to cloudlytics.com today. None of our other competitors provide such a report. So the Detailed IP report basically gives you details about each of the IP address which has accessed the content that you are distributing, and we give you what country, what region that particular IP address is from, and what are the devices that the end user used while accessing that while accessing content from that particular IP address. The way this report basically helps our customers is that if they identify a lot of activity from one single IP address, it could possibly mean that it's not real traffic and could be fake traffic, so they could essentially block those specific IP address. Or if they could identify a potential customer who is consuming and there is an opportunity to cross-sell or there is an opportunity to upsell, by identifying their demography, it is easier for the customer to target, it is easier for our users to target their customers. The next is a timeline chart, which basically gives you an overview of your downloads, your streamings on an hourly basis. Right? It's very much self-explanatory. You could zoom in at an hourly level, or you could view it at a monthly or a daily level. Then we have the popular reports, or the top 10 reports as we call it. So you could have various attributes based on which you could select the top 10 of each of those attributes. So for example, it could be top 10 countries where my content is being downloaded the most, or top 10 top 10 content, actual content in top 10. So for example, these are the top 10 files which are being downloaded the most, and all of those things. So it gives you a quick view of what is the most popular content, what is the most relevant geography for you to target. Alright, so these were some of the reports that we have. Next, what we would like to do is give you a demo of how actually Cloudlytics looks in real-time action. So for that, we'll just switch to a browser, and my colleague Hardik will take over and give you a demo of certain reports in Cloudlytics. So I'll just pass it on to Hardik. Hardik.
Hi everyone. So I'll take you through Cloudlytics. I'll just help you with reports, like how you'll do filtration and get your details using Cloudlytics. So this is our login screen, and this is how your dashboard would be looking. It shows details like this is our number of CloudFront distribution, buckets, how much logs we have processed per month, what is the subscription amount. If you see this sidebar, it has reports, add service. By clicking here, you can configure services with Cloudlytics. It's simple. You'll have to select what service you are going to configure. Click next. It will give you steps to create one user in your AWS management console, whereby you will be getting secret key and access key. You will attach the appropriate policy that you will be shown in this box and create that user in AWS management console. After inserting policies, you can click next, and you will be able to see the list of buckets and distributions that you are having, and you can select further start analyzing. Once you click on start analyzing, you will be able to see your service configured with Cloudlytics. Now, after this, you can click on any of this link and view reports for a particular distribution. From this, you can select Cloudlytics. So this will show you statistics of how your content is getting distributed across the globe. This S3 stem browser basically gives you file structure of what all files you are serving using CloudFront distribution. You can click on a particular folder to view reports for the group of files. Further, as mentioned by Varun, you can see complete, partial and failed downloads. Like this is the complete downloads across the globe. This is how you will be shown failed downloads. You can view operating system or device-wise distribution of your content, browser, status, everything. This is a first landing report that you will be able to see when you configure a distribution. Second is IP report. So you will see list of all IP address that are accessing your content, and if you are interested to find out whether it is a spam or not, you just have to click on it and will fetch all the details like from which country, region, city, latitude, longitude, what was the amount of data downloaded, total number of requests, what operating system, browser was it using, what was the status of the particular request, like whether it was a successful or 301, 304, whatever, from what referrer did this particular IP address came from, every details. Each detail that for a particular IP address will be available in this report. Further we go to timeline report. So we show you details about hits on a particular day, like on April 5th it is 30. You can also do monthly to daily basis zooming on this particular report. If I want to zoom in, I'll just say zoom and I can reset as well. You can also add multiple filters, like if you want to see hit to a particular stem, then I'll just select stem and I'll start typing something, and I can see hit to a particular file as well. So there are various filters like stem, browser, operating system, country, referrer, status code, IP, and edge location. So this is very customizable timeline report. We show only hits on this report. The next one that is most viewed by our customer is a spam report. Where we tell you whether a IP based on the request per day or per week or per month, we give details like whether it is a possible spam or not. So you can easily find out whether your IP address is a possible spam or not, and further by linking this IP address into your IP report, you can find out details about particular IP address. Moving forward, I'll take you through custom. Now here we give our end user full authority to have various kind of filters and select the result set also. Like I'll see results for say edge location, particular edge location which IP address is requesting. So I'll select one edge location from here. So I'll select say one of the edge location code and I'll add it to reports. Okay, so it is added here as a filter. Now what all I'll get is I'll get edge location, IP address. I can also go further and add say client to server, and that's it. I'll say fetch data. particular, there is no particular combination of data available, so it is showing no records. Let me just delete this and fetch few records. So you will be able to see total number of requests, total number of data downloaded, from which edge location, what IP address, and what were the client to server bytes. So this is how you will be using our custom report. Next, moving forward, we have query parameter insight. If you are using signed URL, then you must have heard that you are getting few parameters set as a unique ID for each download request that you are getting. You can go ahead and filter for particular IDs from here. Like, you will have to just type in what is the key value pair. In I am not using any query string, but still it shows something after get parameter. So I can fetch details and it will show me details like for such key value pair, how many hits I have got. So that was about CloudFront. Similar reports we have for S3 as well. Now I'll show you popular reports. So this will show me popular stems. Like, I want only top 10. You can go further and have it till 50. I might not be having so many files, so it won't show top 50. But you can also go and add filters, like you want to find out like countries. Say I want to find top 50 countries. So it will fetch you list of all the countries sorted by request and data transfer. So it gets very easy for you to filter out the details like total data transfer and total request. Further, the last report that we have to offer is cost analysis report, in which you get total insight, each and every detail about how your data is moving and how you are charged by AWS on daily basis. So I am using all price class. The total data transfer out is 3 MB and the cost of data transfer out, total number of requests served, cost of total number of requests, and aggregated cost. If I want to know about how my edge location are behaving, I can find it from here, like AMS, Amsterdam, it is Europe region. I am serving 7 requests, total data transfer is this, and what was the cost involved. I can further click and find how it is getting distributed from this particular edge location as well. So this is how we use Cloudlytics and configure services using this tool. So I would like to ask you if you have any questions. I will pass on this to my colleague Varun, and he'll take forward from this.
Thank you, Hardik. Thanks for the quick demo. I hope everybody liked it. So getting back to the presentation, we just wanted to highlight what are the different reports, the way we function, or the way you could access these reports in real time, right? Next, the next obvious question in everybody's mind, I hope, is how to get started with Cloudlytics. So we'll just answer those queries. Basically for Cloudlytics, you could get started in 3 easy steps. The steps would be, you first of all register for free. You don't need to enter any credit card details for the free tier. So we have a free tier which would allow you to process up to 20 MB of log files each month from either your S3 or CloudFront distribution. So you register for free, you configure your log buckets with a few easy steps, and then you start analyzing and generating the reports. So that's how, just in 3 steps, you could start using Cloudlytics. Once you reach the limit for the free subscription, you could of course go and upgrade by entering your credit card, select the plan that you would like to choose, and then upgrade your subscription to a higher level of log processing, higher numbers of log processing. Right, so these are the pricing. There are no upfront costs. You start with 25 MB of logs free per month, and eventually you only pay for the amount of logs that you subscribe to, right? So our plans start from $0 a month up to $250 a month for 20 GB of log files. We have customers who and we are talking to a lot of other customers as well who have log files which are more than 20 GB. So for them we give a special pricing package depending on their requirements and depending on the frequency of log processing that they want, right? So this was just a snapshot of what the pricing for Cloudlytics looks like. Again, this pricing is available on our website and publicly, so you could just go to Cloudlytics, click on pricing, and you should be able to see the various options showcased here. Right. So just to wrap it up, the advantages of Cloudlytics, as I would like to say, is it's a very scalable and reliable platform. As shown, we have used the best-in-class technologies on AWS like EMR, like Redshift. We're using Elasticache, EC2, etc. to process a large number of logs, and it's extremely scalable, right? And again, the Cloudlytics product is developed by the team at Blazeland Technologies. So at Blazeland Technologies, we are one of the advanced consulting partners for AWS. So we have a team of solution architects from AWS, which is very much experienced with AWS and understand all the services of AWS very well, both for the CloudFront and S3 as well as the MR and Redshift services. Finally, the best part is it's a pay-as-you-go service. You start free and then start paying depending on your usage patterns, and there are no contracts. Basically, if you do not like the service or if you do not want to use the service any longer, which I'm sure would not happen once you start using it, you could basically shut down your subscription and then just move on. So you'd not be charged from next month onwards. Right, so to sum it up, Cloudlytics helps you to identify the most popular downloads and streams for your content. It gives you the geographical distribution of your content. It helps you improve your user experience by calculating and optimizing the latencies which your end users face while consuming your content. It would help you in saving costs by identifying the edge locations from which the traffic is being distributed mainly. It also helps you in identifying spam attacks, and it gets you streaming pattern for your video content, which is play, pause, seek, identify how the user is actually engaging with your content. These are some of the customers that we have worldwide, and the dots on the map basically highlight from the countries that we have our user base, right? So as of today, as per our last count, we have customers from more than 25 countries, and again the number is more than 500 plus. We are continuously adding new and new reports, new features, optimizing the existing reports on the Cloudlytics platform. We are getting some more detailed and insightful reports on the platform soon. So you would see a much better customizable graph and reports coming up very soon. We will be adding up the Elastic Load Balancer log analysis on the platform as well. As you must know, the AWS recently last month launched allowed to log basically create logs of all the access that was made to your Elastic Load Balancer on top of AWS. So we plan to include that in our service. We would also be coming up with a lot of tips and tricks, a lot of insights about Cloudlytics, about CloudFront, and how you should be using CloudFront, on how you should configure your content, etc., to save cost and improve your user experience. And so these are things in the platform. So just keep an eye on us. Right. So that's the end of the webinar, and I'll keep open the forum for questions from our customers. So if you have any questions, please just ask us and put them in the question box that is there at the bottom of your screen, and we would be happy to answer those questions. So one of the questions is partner resale opportunities or possibilities. Yes, maybe we can look at it. We currently do not have any partners right now, but we could definitely, have a chat about it. I would probably keep this forum for answering the technical questions about Cloudlytics. So you could just drop me a note on varun@cloudlytics.com, and I'll get back to you, and we can set up a call or a meeting to explore the possibilities. Okay, the next question is how many number of edge locations are there currently? The number of edge locations that we have on CloudFront today is 51 as of the last count, and when it started the service had only 16 edge locations, but today it has grown to 51, and I'm sure the numbers would keep on adding in the future as well. Next one question is, do you give pricing on S3 as well? No, currently the pricing report is just limited to the CloudFront service only. We do not have pricing for S3, but yes, we do. We are planning for showing pricing reports for S3. Just FYI, if you already do not know about it, AWS a couple of weeks back announced a price cut on S3 by which the pricing for S3 has gone down by 65%, and now storing a GB of data on S3 costs you just 3 cents per GB per month. So just FYI. The next question is it possible to use CloudFront for streaming different types of video content supporting different devices? CloudFront by default supports Flash Media Player. Sorry, it runs on Flash Media Server and Windows. And recently there was this Windows Server added as well, IS streaming. So you could basically stream content which are supported by these two servers or media servers. But of course, with other services of AWS, you have to, you could basically configure it without using CloudFront as well. Right. Okay. So the next question is, how long does it take to process the logs? How much time does it take to process the logs, right? So two answers to it. One, we process the logs just once in a day for our customers. We are changing that to allow processing the logs every 4 hours, but that is work in progress. And typically it takes anywhere between 2 minutes to 30 minutes depending on the size of logs that our customers have. Right, so I hope that answers your question. All right, so I think these were the only questions that are there for today. In case if you have any other questions, please feel free to write us a note. You could write to me at varun@cloudlytics.com, or you could write us at support@cloudlytics.com, and our team would get back to you as soon as possible. Right, so just before closing, I wanted to just quickly take you through some of the webinars on Amazon Web Services which we would be doing over the next couple of months in this quarter. So the next webinar that we are doing is on April 24th, which is around Amazon CloudFront. Then we have a special webinar for the companies in the media vertical. Then again, of course, the basics of cloud by design for highly available and scalable web applications on AWS Cloud. And the last webinar for this quarter is on Amazon Redshift, the data warehousing solution on AWS. All right, so I hope this webinar was useful for everyone, and we look forward to register soon on Cloudlytics and be our customers and give us a chance to serve you better. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day, good night, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you.